Ooh, might make your head blow off.
Hey yo, it's a talk show host, Kana Lassiter. Join me for an episode of Relations, the most lit hour of adult conversation.
Hold up, you know you can't forget about me. It's 51 Spade, Alpha Male God, one half of Relations. You wanna hear the truth? Can you handle the truth? It's where it's at, baby. It's where it's at, baby.
What's good? Welcome to another episode of Relations. My name is Kana Lassiter.
Say it with me now. Alpha Male God, 51 Spade, aka the ninja you love to hate. 2023, I'm in the building.
Y'all know how we do this. We take two topics and we deliver a debate in 1 hour. So the first topic of the night is, when you're mentally checked out, then why don't you get out instead of staying in the relationship? That's topic number one. Topic number two is the issue of domestic violence, but we're not going to really cover too much the side of the woman, more of the side of the man, given the current events happening in the world. All right? So we're going to jump right into the first topic of the night is being mentally checked out, and then staying in the relationship. So, most of the people we know who we've heard say that they were mentally checked out of a relationship, they stayed and just sought other companionship. Like they started seeing other people, sleeping with other people, but their spouse didn't know. So even though the relationship is over and you've mentally checked out, your spouse still thinks they are in the marriage or in the relationship. So the question is, why not just leave? Tell your spouse it's over and you go embark on your new life. My opinion on the whole thing is you're not ready. Either A, you're not ready. Two, you have kids. I haven't always been married, but now being married, I feel like it's not a real easy decision to make, and we only share a dog together. So if we're together on Monday and by Monday, 2 months from now, I feel like, I don't want to be here. It's not as easy as packing a bag and just leaving. There's the house to discuss, the car to discuss, the dog to discuss, the dishes, the furniture. These are all things that I think would give me extreme anxiety. And most likely, this would be something I would not be able to move forward with until I knew what my life is going to look like on the other side. And in order to really get a good picture of what my life is going to look like on the other side, there is the potential of other lovers. There is also being able to look forward to your future. There is the question of being happy. I can't really see what good things are going to come to me in my future if I'm not happy in my present. Like, I don't have to be like 100% happy and all my shit together and, everything running smoothly in order for me to plan my future. But I also cannot be in a dark hole, depressed, no love, no sex, no companionship, and still planning my exit. I almost think women have to be in a certain space mentally in order to see themselves out of the house. And I'm not making excuses because there's probably never a good reason to cheat. But there are reasons in which I think makes sense that a woman would not just say, hey, I'm mentally checked out and my things are already packed and this is what I'm doing next.
As I was listening to you talk, I realized more and more, and I hated this because I was actually going to go a different way when this topic was actually brought up. But the more I heard you speak, I realized that women are so full of shit about every little decision that needs to be made. Now, as I was listening to you, I was hearing you ramble, and then I realized that this is why women can't get out of relationships, because I'm not going to say everything is easy, but cheating is easy. So then when you start saying shit like, well, we got the kids and the dog and this and that, most of that shit go to women anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like most men, when they even head into divorces and shit, they start saying, well, give it a house, give her the dog. I gotta pay this much a month and X, Y, Z, this and that. But for women to hear the amount of excuses you were giving about what is this or what is that, like, what does my love life look like? You don't know. What does my romance after this look like? You don't know. Just like the man don't know. But you want to drag somebody into more bullshit and waste more time, like, with each other, which I feel like is unaccountable. Because if you already checked out, you know the answer. If I'm checked out, I know the answer. I don't have to sit and realize, like, and I gauge relationships pretty much like this. Like, I either see light at the end of the tunnel or I don't see no light. And to me, I think those are the most easier decisions. Men often get judged on, well, you want your cake and eat it too. And as I was hearing you speak, I was like, okay, women feel that exact same way. They want their cake and they want to eat it too.
No.
Now, you can't speak for that because you claim that you've never cheated. So you can't say no. But you can't also give a gauge on why any of your girlfriends have cheated. You'll just sit mute because that's who you are as a person. I'll hear a rebuttal. Give me one.
Well, first I want to attack this. I totally disagree with what you're saying.
On topic.
As far as, I'm going to answer that question. But I have to tackle what you said first, is that you don't know what your love life is going to be like. That's absolutely not true. I think that's one of the reasons why the cheating happens, is because you want an idea of who you can have, who you can pick, what does life look like with them. At a certain age, I will be honest, completely transparent. At a certain age, you just don't see yourself without a partner. Me, between college age and my early 20s, I didn't give a fuck. It's not that I didn't want a boyfriend, but it wasn't that important. When I hit 29 and I realized 31 was coming and 33 was coming, that's when it was like, okay, the world is not built for 30 and 40 and 50-year-old single women, in my opinion. There is just not conducive. It's not built. It doesn't bend. It doesn't feel good. I don't know. Probably another topic for another show. I think it's a great topic. But being my age and going out with my girlfriends and seeing the world outside, it is not fit for me. I am supposed to be homemaking and having a girls' night every now and then with my friends that are my age, period.
But that's opinionated, going from a standpoint of you.
Of course.
And also, I also want to put this out here. You also are on the standpoint of opposite of women empowerment and feminism.
Absolutely.
So I don't agree with what you're saying. You're speaking from a personal standpoint of that, and we talking generalizations.
Right.
So I would not say that it's not built for 40, 50-year-olds or 30-year-olds. It's your mentality. If you approach it from your mentality, which I'm saying this is one of the reasons right here, is like, you broken. Which means, like, to me, you in a relationship, you broken, you done mentally checked out. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest reasons is you don't know what it looked like, because you can pick any man, but you're not gonna know no man, just like a man wouldn't know a woman. You do not know the outcome. So I stand on what I said. You do not know what your love life.
But it gives you an idea.
No,
when I met my spouse, yes, it did. You know what? When I learned something the day I started dating my guy seriously. I figured out that I had no idea what a real committed relationship looked like, and I had no idea what a committed marriage would be like. He taught me really what I was getting myself into.
Gotcha.
And that gave me a glance of what my future is going to look like.
Gotcha. But can you answer this question? Do you know if you'll get a divorce or not?
No, I don't think anybody knows
Gotcha.
that.
You don't know what your relationship will look like. That is my point.
Yes.
Like, that's opinionated. You don't know what it look like.
No.
Someone can teach you about a relationship. Yeah. Someone can teach you how to love. Someone can teach you that, hey, the men that you were picking, I'm better than them. Yes, you can see that. Mm-hmm. But do you know what your relationship is going to look like? No, you don't. Reason being is because there's too many moving parts in a relationship. You and your relationship with your man, or your man with you, have nothing to do with your relationship. Reason being is because, for instance, when people get married, family members come into to his life that he might not even like. That can have an outcome on your relationship that you're not planning for. Y'all could be hunky-dory, in love, everything, and he don't like your mama. Your mama could be his deciding factor on, I don't want to deal with this shit no more. So you do not know what your outcome of your relationship gonna be.
Very true. I agree with that. But I'm only saying but because I totally agree with what you're saying. No one knows what the future is gonna hold. But just like parents prepare their children to go to college and get an education, it's kind of setting them up and giving them a glance into what their future could be like. That's the same for a woman with her relationship. So while she has a husband who she's checked out from and she meets a guy, that guy can and will predicate how fast she signs those divorce papers based on what he's offering, based on what she sees. Now, could it fall? Could it fizzle in 24 hours after? Absolutely. But what I'm saying is those are one of the deciding factors on how fast this person is going to move out of the house that they're in. Is their new relationship. I have a friend right now who her ex-guy is sleeping on her couch. It wasn't a problem when she wasn't in a relationship. It wasn't a problem when she was just seeing people here and there. It became a problem when she got herself into a committed relationship. Now the new boyfriend is like, okay, homeboy can't sleep on your couch. He's been on your couch 2 years. He has to go find somewhere else to live. This made her push the button on separating herself from the ex. Had it not been for the new relationship, he could have stayed on the couch another 2 years.
And we have identified the problem. And that's what I'm talking about right there. Because if this was a guy in this type of scenario, he'd be called all kind of shit. He a bitch ass nigga. He want his cake and eat it too. He think he's slick. All this type of shit would be coming out. But when it's women, we gotta give them a pass. No, ho. We ain't giving no passes out around here. And that's my point of what I'm saying. It's like, and what's crazy to me is like, just like Jada and numerous women, like I know plenty of women who be like they mentally checked out. They'll never say the word I cheated. They'll be like I was mentally checked out. They won't stand on anything verbatim for what it is. For a man, you want to hear the words. For a man, it's like he cheated. I want to hear who is that bitch? Say you cheated, this and that.
Say why you cheated, when you cheated,
exactly,
how you cheated. I want to know all of it.
Exactly. When it's women, I was mentally checked out. I just wasn't there. I just was confused. I was trying to find my way in life. I was trying to see. I had just had this baby, and I was just confused on a whole bunch of fucking horse shit.
You forgot entanglement.
I didn't want to go there, entanglement, but
can't forget that cherry on top.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go there, but that's what I'm saying. It's like their feet is never held to the fire. So regardless of the fact of all the reason, regardless of the fact of what you feel, because every time I talk to a woman, they're gonna say some shit like I was feeling. Regardless of the fact of how you feel, one thing you do feel is you feel you're checked out. You feel you don't love this person anymore. You know this already because you're mentally checked out. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, if you're mentally checked out, press go. Press the fucking go button is what I'm saying. Just see, and the thing about it is, y'all might not agree with me, but I'll just go out there and say it. When men press go, we already know. We don't know where we gonna land, but 9 times out of 10, we just figure out a fucking way. There's plenty
because
of men.
Because you guys aren't scared to be alone. You go from having a wife 7 days a week to not having a bitch in the house at all and being completely cool with that.
You're born alone, you're gonna die alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why this is so hard to fucking figure out. Now, I'm not saying that you don't deserve companionship, but you can get a dog, a cat, and especially nowadays, a lot of women are pairing off with their friends and just living off with their friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not alone. You understand what I'm saying? Like, just because you want some dick, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Just because you want some penis, you know what I'm saying? That does not give you the right to destroy your husband's life and drag him along for your bullshit and then drag the new person that you're trying to date into some bullshit too. And a lot of times what goes on, and this isn't a woman thing or a man thing when I'm making this statement, what ends up happening is the new person, you're telling them to wait. I ain't ready yet. I'm telling you, I'm going to leave. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and you're not. And then you are really fucking up your current scenario when you probably shouldn't even be in a current scenario if you're mentally checked out. You probably need to check into a therapist.
I don't really think saying you're mentally checked out, if it's true, is a bad thing. What I think the bad thing is that oftentimes it just starts off too messy. I said something profound. We will move on when we decide or when we see what our future looks like, and most of that is predicated on a man. Well, a man who is sleeping with a married woman for any reason, sometimes it's just a piece of shit himself. And so he's not showing you that guy that you would want to sign off on your divorce papers for. A lot of times we get ourselves in these entanglements with more wrong people, more wrong men. So while you have a husband who's abusive at home, you have a dude that's using you for sex that you're cheating on him with. So that guy ain't no better than that guy. And I think that is the circle of bullshit that you're talking about.
But that's what I've been saying from get-go, because you shouldn't be in a circle of bullshit.
Yeah.
You should be pressing the go button to figure out your life. You know what I'm saying? Refrain from sex. Refrain from those type of things, because you're not in a mental space or capacity anyway to be dealing with any of those things anyway. That goes for man or woman to me. Like, all you do, and a lot of time when now I'll speak from the standpoint of when women are checked out, like I said, they won't hold themselves accountable, and what they try to do is the same thing they accuse men of. They'll try to set up a scenario. So you got a husband, then you cheating with somebody else. Then you like, well, hey, I'll let him go. But then once I let him go, if he says, the new guy, if he says he'll be with me, then I'll press the go.
Definitely agree with you. I know someone who actually did that. Like, hey, I'm getting a divorce from my husband. What does a relationship or a situation look like with you and I? And thankfully for her, the guy was honest and just said, look, we won't ever be together.
And that's what I was about to say. And any time you're in that scenario, that should be the answer. Yeah. I've been in that my damn self. I've been in scenarios like that, and I had to tell the chick, like, well, me and her, if me and her not together, I ain't finna be with you either. Main reason is because I'm already committing the ultimate crime. You understand what I'm saying? Like, now I'm just putting myself in it. I'm already committing the ultimate crime. I can't have a girl then be cheating with you and then leave my girl to be with you. And then you be like, well, damn, you was cheating on her with me. And then she's looking at me that way. Yeah. That ain't gonna make no sense to me. So for your friend, I would be like, that's the way she should have been looking at it too. You should know that you getting used for sex.
I don't think we know that, though. I think the lines can be blurred for us depending on our mentality. And I'm one of those people that lines can be blurred.
That's cool. And I'm enlightening you because this needs to be talked about. You're getting used for sex. There's no way I would be laying down with a chick. And you know what I'm saying? I'm as off as they come. But there's no way that I'm going to be laying down with a chick and she has a dude and I'm going to take her serious. I just won't do it. You know what I'm saying? I'll smash her. I'll do what needs to be done. You see what I'm saying? But my thing is, the side dude is up against a lot of shit. Just like a drug addict, you might relapse on some. I don't think I need to say it, but we all know because I wouldn't trust you. You know what I'm saying? I be hearing all kind of stuff. We share a dog together. You know what I'm saying? He done moved out. You know what I'm saying? He just comes and pick up the kids. Like, at some point in time, it's just some murky lines that I'm not willing to be dealing with. You know, I'm not. And on top of that, it's just like, I feel you also need time for yourself to heal, close that door, get your closure, get all those type of things. You can't jump out of one thing out of a divorce because you mentally checked out and then you just write in a new one because y'all been having sex. Them two don't go together. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And I hate, because I don't want to nag on or be negative towards women who have kids. But I definitely see that as one of the biggest mistakes is they're looking more into, this guy really likes me, he's really into me, but you're forgetting that guy has to be into you and your children. He has to be into you, your children, and they daddy. He got to be into you, your kids, they daddy, and the grandma. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper when you become a stepfather.
So let me ask you a question. Do you say that to your girlfriends, like when they cheating with somebody else and they're like, oh my God, like, you know, like they in a situation, they cheating on they dude, but they say, hey, I'm mentally checked out. do you say to your homegirl, I get it, girl, but you do realize that you got kids and your ex that he gonna have to deal with?
Yes.
Do you say that shit to him?
I do. I say that when the time is appropriate. In the beginning, I'm not the bearer of bad news. Like, I'm not.
That's when it's appropriate.
But listen, if my girlfriend called me and like, good, I just got my back blowed out and I really need it, I'm not gonna be like, girl, that's so good, but I'm gonna let her stay on her high, and then when we have our girls talk, I'm gonna bring it up. Like, what's going on with you and old boy? I'll let her talk, and if she's gung ho and just, oh my God, he's so great. Listen, I just want to remind you. What about the children? Because now he's 28. He looks good. Yeah, he's sexy. I agree with everything you're saying. But now I'm trying to see him in the position of being a stepfather to your kids, and I'm not making that connection. I'm trying to see him having dinner with your ex-husband, and I'm not seeing that connection.
Okay, so
yes, I do say it, but at the right time.
Gotcha. So what if she say, you know, hey, should have just worked out? I mean, we just having fun for right now. Because to me, I feel like that's going to be the fall. It's like, that what you say, it sounds good, you know what I'm saying, but I just don't see any or hear any accountability for that, because to me it's too much wiggle room to get out of a scenario like that. Like for you to just be like, hey, I'm gonna let her just be on her high horse, and then, you know, when she come and have girl talk. See, the thing about it is, to me, your friends know you just like my friends know me. I'm pretty much the leader of my clique. So my judgment, my gavel gonna come down a whole lot harder. So they rather not hear my gavel come down. So the girl talk might not ever come. The guy talk might not ever come.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying? Like I had a homeboy, like I ain't find out he was having a baby till the baby was born. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's when he sprung the news on me. I'm like, damn, nigga, you had 9 months to tell me this shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know. I already had fucked up, dog, and I just ain't want to hear that shit right then and there. You know what I'm saying?
And that could, to me, men are different than women. That works to me in a brotherhood. In a sisterhood, you become the friend you can't tell nothing to.
The spawn of lies.
Right, because there's a group of friends. There's a one that pays for everything. There's one that ain't never got no money, and everybody got to pay for her. Then there's one who over exaggerates and want to fight everybody, and then there's one who just gossips and always raining on your parade. So what I'm saying is, girls categorize their friends, and sometimes I felt like I've always caught the brutal end of the stick when it comes to what they tell me, because I am so transparent, because I am so honest, or because I can see bullshit a mile away. There's no reason why this 28-year-old retired military person should be in a relationship with this 40-year-old person with such and such kids. That does not match up. Does it match up sometimes in our big world? Absolutely. But if we're doing the odds and we're playing chess, that was a bad move. It just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, but it's always a bad move, and that's why I'm saying, to get back on topic, that's why I'm saying, like, when you mentally checked out, like, I often hear it posed from the idea like a guy, you know what I'm saying, hey, you want his cake and eat it too. But like I said, we also have scenarios where women be mentally checked out and they create this whole big mess trying to figure out, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a knight in shining armor. Who gonna fight who to the bloody end and figure out who gonna win the bad decision. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all thought I was gonna say her love. No, the bad decision.
Damn, I thought you were gonna say that too. That's why I'm like, yes.
No, the bad decision. You know what I'm saying? And I could even say for me, in scenarios I've been in like that, I'm like, hey, that's your problem now. You know what I'm saying? And to me, those are some of the best decisions that you can make. So when you're mentally checked out, my thing, just for my wrap up, is you already know the answers. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of what I'm really getting at. Why create this catastrophe, this clusterfuck of shit when you already know the outcome? You mentally checked out, the relationship need to come to an end. Go ahead and put a seal and stamp on it and stamp it and press the button and go. I just don't believe in you mentally checked out and you cheating. And then you won't even admit to it. Women, you won't even admit to it.
Yeah. I'll say this for my wrap up. I understand not pulling the trigger.
Of course you do.
right away. I get it. I get the fear. Fear is not a good thing. I'm not saying this to give them an excuse or even say it as a good thing. I get it. But I'm saying that you can conquer it. Fear is the reason why we don't pull the trigger. And fear will be the reason why we make bad choices, because to get yourself involved in another situationship, relationship, or entanglement when you have a husband at home is never good, especially if other things are born out of that marriage. Let's say you've mentally checked out, you're seeing someone else, your husband just is real nice to you one day, and you end up having sex with him. You're mentally checked out, but you still live in the house together. It can happen. You have sex, you get pregnant.
And that's
now
why,
you're pregnant from a person that you're mentally checked out from.
And that's why I'm saying, I'm saying what I'm saying, because of scenarios like that. And I don't like scenarios like that. If you mentally checked out, now you want to say, ooh, boo boo. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. You know what I'm saying? You mentally checked out. You if you would have pushed the button, you wouldn't have had that baby.
Right.
If you would have pressed that button, it wouldn't have been no, oh, well, he came home and just jumped on top of me, this and that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, staying there and you already know that. Now you dealing with other shit and then subjecting your child to
A bad marriage.
not even a marriage. Just this parent over here and this parent over there.
Yeah.
Like the divorce, the separation, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like he has to witness all this shit, and he don't even get the benefit of both parents.
Yeah. Very true. So I agree with Alpha Male God today that you should definitely pull the trigger, but I understand why you don't. So let's move on to the next topic, which will take us to the end of the show, about domestic violence. One thing we're going to be doing for a new season of Relations is we're going to be talking about a lot of things that are trending, current events, and some of those things right now are at their height when we talk about domestic violence. Most of the stuff we're hearing about is woman against man first. And I haven't been, in all my years, haven't been at the forefront of that conversation. For me, because I have had domestic violence happen to me, and because it happened to my mom, I'm always given that from the female perspective. And now we have these new cases out where men are being attacked. One lady attacked a guy with a bowling ball. Dana White's wife slapped him. Okay, I know he slapped her back, but she slapped him first. Okay, and then we have Chrisean Rock. They jumping on her. They got a reality show. She's removing glass from his head that supposedly she hit him with. And even if that's not true, over that whole year, we saw incidences where she put her hands on him in the news. So this is becoming a real thing that women are hitting men. And I don't have a lot to say about it because it's shocking. It is really, really shocking to see it happen. Another thing is shocking is to see the little bit of media coverage that you get when it happens, or the expectation of a man when it happens. He should not hit her back. He should have done this. He should have done that. What has been pretty regular with my friends and family is if she woman enough to hit me as a man, then she got to be woman enough to take the lick back. And I have to agree. Even though I have had myself hit on by a man, if I ever attacked him first, what is supposed to happen? I'm in a weird predicament because I don't think men should be hitting women, but I also don't believe women should be hitting men ever at all. And if you do, why is the expectation that he has to turn the other cheek? Everybody should, so says the Bible. But that ain't really the world we live in. When you send your kids to school, I know my daddy told me if I came home crying, it's going to be a problem. When someone hits you, you hit them back. You learn that as a little kid. My father did not say if a boy hits you, don't hit him back. And my father did not say you don't hit a boy. It was whoever put their hands on you, you put their hands on them. And don't come home crying or I'm locking the door, and you're going to stay out there until you give them back what they gave you. So if I'm taking that a lesson and I'm applying that to today, then what is the argument here?
Well, for one, your daddy gave you bad advice. You start right there first and foremost. I mean, it's the difference between defending yourself, but your daddy is pretty much encouraging what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're really thinking about the scenario that that you're talking about, to a degree, you know what I'm saying. But I'll start off like this. As I was thinking about this topic and what's going on, I didn't want to approach this from the standpoint of like two wrongs or defending yourself or stuff like that. Those things are subjective or circumstantial and stuff like that. But we do got to address, I feel, like some major things. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to be on this show saying, hey, you know, if a female hit you, you need to hit them back. You know what I'm saying? That's reduced. You can form your own opinion. I'm not here for that. What we do need to do, I'm going to cover two things. One thing, we got way too many simps out here for the men. It's way too many simps out here. And this is what really men are bringing this type of shit on they self because they simplify for some reason. Like, I've never been anywhere and a female thought about slapping me. I ain't saying it can't happen. I'm saying just to look at a man and be like, I slap the shit out. That has never happened to me. Never. But there are women out here that look at men like that, like I punch him in his shit. You know what I'm saying? I slap the hell out of him. But to me, it's like, what do you look at when you look at that man? That's the real question. What are you looking at when you look at that? And to me, it's like, you got to be looking at that saying, that's a simp. Like, I don't see no fear. Like, I've seen women be like, girl, that he's going to kill me. I would never touch him. Mm-hmm. You know, like, accurate shit. Mm-hmm. Some of these men need to become men. And they don't have that type of energy. And to me, that's why they're getting attacked. Should you walk away from scenarios? Like I said, it's subjective. But I've never been in a scenario like that where a woman was brave enough to slap me or brave enough to hit me or thought that they could. Mm-hmm. Now, this ain't no male bashing scenario too. Because also the other issue, I said it was two things we need to talk about. Women. Why do you feel it's okay to even put your hands on a man and not receive no backlash? Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. I don't know, like when I was hearing you talk, I understand defending yourself behind a woman who hit you with a rock, or you know what I'm saying, like someone throw some water on you. That's two women going at it. I understand that. I'm saying your dad was wrong for saying anybody do it. I don't believe in that. I have a son and I have a daughter, but I teach my daughter that if someone put their hands on her, which is a man, she comes to get me or you go get your brother. I've never said to her, put your hands on a man. That would not come out my mouth. I would not never encourage that because you don't know. For one, women can scream this shit about equal all they want to. You know when you gonna find out we ain't equal? When that punch come in. When that punch is delivered, you gonna find out real quick how equal we really are. And this is what I explained to my daughter. I'm being serious. I explained this to her. You are not physically as strong as a man. There's probably men that you might be big in. If you Big Bertha, have at it. You know what I'm saying? You 300 something pounds, ride out.
Do your thing, girl.
Ride out. But for the rest of you, that ain't. When that punch come, I want you to remember that. Would I tell a man to refrain from that? Of course. I wouldn't ever say that. But it's a flip side coin to this. The flip side coin to this is, even though you was going over this shit, talking about domestic violence and some of this shit that goes on, I want you also to remember there are men who took women for granted and got stabbed and killed in the process.
Yeah. The African guy in the social media influencer, she killed him.
McNair.
There you go. Say that.
McNair.
Steve McNair.
There you go. Steve McNair.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And this reason, and you know why that happens? That happens because of what you were just talking about. The woman started assaulting the man turns the cheek. Yeah. And he ends up losing his life for it. That's what I'm saying. The white chick on social media that stabbed the black dude. Yeah. There's no, he probably thought in his mind it was no way he would lose his life to some white chick.
Yeah. And they showed actual
footage of her in
the elevator, somewhere.
And she's slapping
kicking his
she's
ass.
slapping him, kicking him,
and he
all
ain't
kinds of
doing
shit.
nothing. He
Exactly.
is not trying to hit her, move her out of the way or anything. So it really, really hurt me that he was in that predicament. And I really think there almost has to be this type of footage in order to give a man credibility and in order to believe that he's being abused. And that hurts me to even say, because I have a little nephew. And if there was a Big Bertha at his school that was bullying him, she's a girl, he's a boy, you know, I feel like it's almost weird to go home and say, hey, mom, I have a bully. And it turned out to be some chick, some girl. So for little boys, for men, grown men, little men, I think it's an issue that we have to keep talking about, because men are losing their lives and they're also losing their freedom. There was also in the news, Gervonta Davis gets into an argument with his woman. She calls the police. Oh my God, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. 24 hours later, there's a statement saying he didn't touch me. That was unnecessary. I think that she should go to jail.
And I agree. And see, and this is the other thing that I'm talking about when I said for a man, it's a no-win situation. So we're going to go what you were already talking about. You have the Dana White situation. There was so many people that looked at that and immediately, like I said, we do have a lot of simps out in this world. Oh, something needs to happen to him. Oh, now don't get me wrong. Most people view things from a lot of different standpoints when they see things.
Yes.
So now, as a businessman and a man, I'm going to go from this standpoint. I saw it and the very first thing I said was, damn, she slapped him. Now keep in mind, we don't know the context, just like most people. We see a video, we don't know what happened. We don't know what happened 5 minutes before that. We don't know what happened 10 minutes after that. We do not know the conversation that they was having. We don't know if she threw a drink. Sometimes when fights and everything start going on, people, they don't got their phone out immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when they see it and they say, oh, that's Dana, they pop it out, but they miss pertinent situations that go on. So when people see that 60 or 30-second clip, they see her hit him. He decide, then he hit her.
Thought about it.
He ain't hit her with the cock back.
No, he gave her the same thing she gave him.
He just hit her with the powder. You know what I'm saying? He hit her with the 5 fingers of death. You know what I'm saying?
His pimp hand wasn't strong.
Yeah, his pimp hand wasn't strong. You know what I'm saying? But the outroar was one, he should have never hit her. I heard a lot of people saying he should have never hit her. Of course, I'll go ahead and state the obvious. Some people started saying white privilege, he wasn't in media outlets, all those type of things, which actually go on. Now, these are emotions that are talking when you're looking at a scenario like that. But it was amazing to me how quickly she got off the hook for just even attempting to smack someone of his nature. Now, he said they have been married like 30-something years.
Yeah.
30-something years is a long time to get on somebody's nerves. You know what I'm saying? It just is. Shit happens. But you know what was crazy to me? What was crazy to me was this. There was so many people that also took the standpoint of, that wasn't the first time it happened. That was, I bet you he hit her on the regular. And this is why some people have to come out and make statements, because he was like, that has never happened. Out his own mouth. And I'm not saying whether he was lying or not, but what I'm saying is this is how far a man has to go for a woman that did something that was wrong to have to make the statement that this was not the first time. I mean, this was the first time it happened. My kids know me. They know our relationship. And that was the first time incident. You see what I'm saying? But so many people was like, that's who he is. He an MMA fighter. He should know better. This and that. Like, it was like crazy. Like, no one was giving like fair justice. Not saying like I even feel that it's a fair world, but it was amazing to me that everybody was like, one, it's white privilege. They did not look at her in the least. It was all him. He needed to be suspended. Something needed to happen to him. This, like, her slap created all of that for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it just turned out to be very negative, and he was the one that was hit first. I think the same thing for Gervonta. Everything that happened to him based on her call was negative for him, not for her. And so if we're talking about it to make a change, there has to be something put in place to keep women from making false reports, or if they put their hands on a man first and we could see it, then I would know he would hate it, but someone need to show up to her house and serve her a subpoena, put her in handcuffs, whatever. Take her through the same exact motions that a man has to go through when they put their hands on a female.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I need to spend the night in jail.
Yeah,
for
she
all
did first.
for all y'all saying those type of things. Like, I get all that. And what was so crazy is, like, you know, my lady was like, you know, hey, that's white privilege. I just feel this and that. And I had to explain to her, it's an independent company. It's not the NFL. It's not the NBA. Hell, it ain't the NHL. The UFC is an independent company. So what really is supposed to be his penalty?
Well, I'll say this. I get what you're saying, but Charles Manson can't get out of jail. I don't give a fuck how good of a UFC fighter he may be or an MMA fighter. He cannot get out of jail, get a job with the UFC, and then they air it on ESPN, which is a company that Disney owns. So I don't give a fuck about all that. And that's not the topic. But I'm saying is bigger companies, I know the UFC is independent, but they don't have the UFC network where they can just show UFC fights and UFC commentary. These fights are shown on bigger platforms that are owned by big companies that if another one of their employees hit their wife, there would be backlash.
That's right.
There would be repercussions.
And then again, to be uneducated and to know what you're talking about, they're owned by Zuffa. Zuffa is not Disney. Zuffa is
but
not.
it's still shown on ESPN is owned by Disney. And when I look at anything on ESPN, sometimes I see UFC.
It is a pay-per-view. Hold on. It is a pay-per-view that you see big fights on, which is independently owned by them. Secondly, UFC is rarely ever covered on ESPN.
To me, it has to be zero.
Rarely,
not
ever.
rarely.
So, but I'm just giving the example of that. That's the reason why. What I'm saying is, like, there's going to be no repercussions because it's barely covered on it anyway. So even if they didn't want to show anything, it does not hurt them.
Don't matter.
They are
the company still needs to deliver the same thing they would deliver to anybody else, regardless of how
they
it would affect Dana or the players. It doesn't matter.
They can't.
As Disney, if
they can't. They don't own anything for UFC. They can't. That's just
they can stop showing it if they wanted to. I don't want them to. I love UFC. But what I'm saying is, don't say they can't do anything. They can say, "Oh, we are so against this. We're so mad. We are never going to show another UFC fight ever."
That's right. That hurts the fighter.
So what? It hurts a player's family when he gets suspended from the team
because he signed an NFL contract, and that's the difference between knowing what you're talking about and your feelings. This is why a lot of times when women get in debates, they start using their own personal feelings. This is why I'm like, they not fit to lead sometimes.
What I'm saying is this. You can't tell me that out of everything UFC does, I'm talking about everything, from 100 different events they do, that there is not any company that could say, you know what, I don't like what Dana White did, and I do not want UFC show. But that's all I'm saying.
I didn't say that.
But that's all I'm saying.
I didn't say that. I said they cannot. I said they cannot give repercussions. Is what I said.
A repercussion is not showing. If someone said, hey, we don't want relations airing on this channel, that is a repercussion because y'all cuss too much. We can't show y'all. That's a repercussion can be this big or this big. The fact that there is zero from companies is my issue, and you're telling me, well, there is no company. There has to be one out of 100 different events that they do.
Yeah, the company is theirs, but they don't stand for those type of things, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you sign a contract from anything, so it's just like, let's take actors. Mm-hmm. You take actors. It's the companies that shy away from them. It's the companies that actually do that.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
But guess who they sign? They sign contracts with Hollywood agents and companies. Mm-hmm. UFC has their own policy. That's why I often tell people, you want to do something and you don't want to have no repercussions, you have to own the company. 100%. So the company can do something. Everybody else, they don't answer to. So if the company itself decides to do that, that's fine. But they have plenty of fighters on that roster that have ran into domestic violence. Hell, Cain Velasquez just did a murder charge. You understand what I'm saying? But it's not the company that had an issue with.
Let me remind you of something that happened last year. And it might have been not last year, it might have been the year before last.
Gotcha.
Whenever George Floyd died.
Gotcha.
We had been talking about police brutality on unarmed men forever. This is the first time I've ever seen a video release with white actors in particular saying, I take accountability. I take accountability for what happened to George Floyd. I take accountability. I know about white privilege. They made a video just to say they knew that white privilege exists and they took accountability for that privilege. If Dana White had... No, it wasn't cops. It was just white people. In general, white actors in Hollywood said, I take accountability for the white privilege that I experience. I understand that if I get stopped and I'm white and you get stopped and you're black, I understand that my privilege lets me go and you go to jail. I just want to put on record that I understand that that's happening in this country and I don't stand behind it. Okay. Had Dana White, fuck them companies, if they don't want to take responsibility and stand against this white man, then since he has black fighters and black fans and he wants black people to keep supporting him, then he himself could have put himself in front of that camera and said, you know what? I understand why people are so angry. It looks like I am experiencing what people call white privilege, and that would have been enough for me. Because he is experiencing white privilege. Whether I see the rules are not there for him, fine. But when he goes home, if he has any black friends at all, he should know that if any one of his black friends were in the same situation, they would find a way to punish him. They would find a fucking way. So being that he should know that by just knowing black people at all, then he could sit there and say, you know what? I take accountability. And I know for sure, 100% based on the history in this country, that if a black man slapped his wife on camera, no one would be this quiet. I will say that. And all it would probably take is for him to say that. For people to start doing the same thing they did when George Floyd died. Take accountability for what is happening. I know it's not your fault and there are no repercussions for you, but bro, you have black fighters, you have black friends, you have black coworkers that would not be able to walk in your shoes, do what you did, and then have no repercussions at all from companies. Does he have personal repercussions? 100%. He has repercussions just sitting there having to talk about the shit. I get it. But a black man would have suffered 100,000 times more. And I just needed for him to look at me through the lens and say he understands that. And he sees it happening. And I'm sorry that a black man would have done this and would have been persecuted. Not my fault that I was born white, but I hear what you're saying. Sometimes that's all that's required to stop all the roaring. Because at the end of the day, he was born white. He can't help that he gets white privilege. But don't walk through this motherfucker past your black employees and past your black friends like you're not appreciating your white privilege. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure he's glad to be white.
Well, that's opinionated. I'm glad you had that long-winded soliloquy.
Whatever.
But even with that being said, that has nothing to do with it. He's not in a black scenario. He didn't hit a black woman. You know what I'm saying? And if that was the case, then we need to go around day by day saying, hey, we're black on black crime. Hey, I'm Christian Rock, and I to do black on black crime. You know, this is what I need to do. I just want you. That's how you sound. I'm just trying to give you the idea. That's how you sound. You know what I'm saying? So I want Christian Rock and Jada Pickett, and I want Gabrielle Union and all, you know what I'm saying, Solange and all them to say, I do black on black crime. This is what I do. I can't help it because I was born black, but I'm a black woman and I'm hitting a black man, and this is what happened. This is how ridiculous you sound. The idea of the fact that's a personal matter that goes on with him. Where he signed for his company, he's entitled to do what he need to do, just like not a supporter of Trump. If Trump know how to beat the tax bracket because tax put it there, more power to him. Education and knowledge is always the key, not your personal feelings. People can look at it and never think race, not one time. That's the thing about human beings in this thing called social media that we have. Looking at someone through a videotape, people interpreted shit a lot of different ways. But the only people that was saying black white privilege is because they're looking at it from the standpoint of black. But it ain't black because there was nobody black there. It was him, he's white, hitting his white wife. If that was a white man hitting a black woman, then I could see how someone could turn it saying that, oh damn, that's some racist things going down.
Well, that was privilege is not racism. White privilege is just. I let you talk. Finish though.
No, I don't need to finish.
You sound silly. You don't know the definition of white privilege.
I do.
Nothing to do with racism at all.
I do know the definition, but you're turning it into that because you're looking at it from that standpoint. If you want to control outlets and things like that, just like I would tell any other person, then you need to start owning more platforms. We don't control the narrative of the media because we don't own those type of platforms. A lot of the platforms that are white, I don't see them really rushing to do anything for black people because they don't have to. If it's a platform that we want to have a black narrative and push the agenda that we have, that is the reason why people like Minister Louis the Farrakhan and things like that are not allowed on those networks. But they can do whatever they want to do. If he wants to own his own platform and we want to push that narrative, that's fine. Not talking about what's going on. But what I'm saying is you can't look at another person and then tell them to acknowledge white privilege when he's having a personal matter. That's what I'm saying. That would never equate into his mind.
Of course.
That would never equate into his mind.
That's the example of white privilege. That's why it doesn't equate. Because it's the privilege that he has as a white man.
No, that is.
He didn't even get scared of going. He wasn't even scared of going to jail. If that would have been a black man that slapped his wife in the strip club that night, it would not have ended them going home.
She got to press charges.
She has to. First of all, that's not correct. Talking about education in these 50 states, that is not the law. That is not the law anymore. The state can pick it up. If you hit me right now and I call the police on you, if I do not press charges, the state can say fuck her. With a state against you, the state against alpha male God.
That's right. They can pick up the charge. He don't have to go to jail. He doesn't have to go to jail.
If the state presses charges, they will still take your ass to jail. But it usually doesn't happen till the next day, so it probably won't happen that night. But they can still arrest him. They can arrest him in court when he show up.
No, they can. They're going to ask her, is she pressing charges?
And if she says no, the state could still press charges against you on their behalf. Not on my behalf, but the state can say, and this happened after, and do your research. This happened after. I already did. Remember, I used to be in an abusive relationship. Pull out your phone and look at the law.
No, you don't.
Right now, I'm telling you right now that a woman does not have to press charges against a man. The state will pick up the charges and prosecute themselves.
But he will not go to jail. That is what I'm saying.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know if a state doesn't pick up the charges against? If I call the police right now, the police has the right to take you to jail if the state press charges.
I've been in those situations where they
so if you go to court, they can't lock you up.
They ask her. That's not what I said. Listen, clean the wax out here. That's what I said. I said when they're there, they ask her, "Do you want to press charges?" I've been on both. I've been on both. Answer the question. We're not going to dance around bullshit because you're deciding to talk about bullshit. Stay on the fucking facts. I've been there. I've been there where a woman has hit me. I didn't say that. Clean your goddamn ears out. That is not what I said. I said he does not have to go to jail, so he doesn't have to have a fear of going to jail. They're still going to ask her if she pressed charges. I've been on both sides. I've been hit and I've hit. And on both of those occasions, both of them, they looked at me and said, "Do you want to press charges?" No, I don't want to press charges. And they did not press charges. And on my behalf, when I did it myself, they looked at her and said, "Do you want to press charges?" And she said no.
Okay. That still does not mean that if the state doesn't pick it up, you don't take your ass to jail, bro.
Again, so why do I need to have fear of going to jail?
Because if you're black in America and you're outside in public and you slap somebody on video camera, I'm sorry, but any black man is going to have a fear that if the police is coming, because of the way this country works, if the police on their way or if there's a possibility of the police being on their way, a black man feels fear. You can put 100 of them in here and they're going to all tell you hell fucking yes. So you know what I'm going to do? I ain't going to wait for the police.
I'm a black man.
I'm going to leave. The last story you told me, you hit somebody, you left. They couldn't find you when they came.
I don't have.
So why did you leave if you weren't scared?
I don't have fear.
Why did you leave?
Because I had my kids. That's why. So know what you're talking about before you know. Before you ask.
Most men will say I want to go to jail. So
you're not a man. So you can zip it right there.
Most men. You act like I don't talk to men who have been in that situation.
But you're not a man. So don't talk like
y'all
one.
answer.
You just
if you are out in public, answer this question. Right in. Let me ask the question.
They already heard you blabber. You've been blabbering for 5-10 minutes. You don't have to sit there and say that same thing.
I do half the show, so I'm going to keep talking. If you are a man.
You can keep talking, but I can still overtalk you.
You get hit, or you hit somebody, are you going to stay there for the police to come? Are you going to leave? And if you leave,
if they don't have
is
knowledge,
it 9 times out of 10, oh, my kids are here. 9 times out of 10, if you're out in public and hit a bitch, your kids ain't there.
If you don't have knowledge of the law, that's the only reason most people
that's have. That's still fear. Knowledge, whatever, that still equates to being scared.
If you let me finish, I said, if you have no knowledge, which most men do not have knowledge of the law, that's the only thing that has fear. Now,
how many of us have knowledge of the law, Alpha Male?
A lot.
How many people you think have knowledge versus not knowledge in our community?
A lot do.
More than don't.
I'm one
more than don't.
So that's all I have to answer is that's all I have to answer. I do, and I know other people that do, and I've had encounters with plenty of them, and not one time had I experienced that. You have to know the law, and you have to know what. The only thing that makes you experience the fear is that you don't know what you can say and what you don't. And what you can't say.
The funny thing is to me is Gervonta Davis went to jail and he didn't even hit her. So I don't know what the fuck you talking about. This is a motherfucker that has a huge platform, got money in his pocket. He didn't hit her. She said he hit her and he still took his black ass to jail. She said he hit her. He did not physically put his hands on her. He still went to jail. So you're going to sit here and say, oh, well, if they're well educated, there's no reason to leave. They're not going to be scared. How can you say that when somebody who didn't even put his hands on the woman, who has money and a platform, still took his black ass to jail?
You want to stand by that to say that he went to jail?
He was arrested. That was the point. The whole point was he got arrested.
Do you want to stand by it?
No.
Oh, okay. Then the rest
but if
of that,
you want to look for the information for the show, look for it.
The rest of that is
look it up though.
The rest of that is
look it up though.
You said no.
I said when I saw what I saw, it says Gervonta Davis arrested, not accused.
Okay.
It said arrested. Okay. So I'll stand by what I saw. You asked me, do you stand by he went to jail? I wasn't there. I read that he went to jail, and we know everything that we read is not always 100% true. Okay. That's why I said that.
Okay.
But so the publication said.
That's all I wanted to know.
The publication said.
I don't care what the publication said.
And when he got out, I think there's a video of him coming out of jail. So I will make sure I do my diligence.
Do you want to stand on
that? Can I have my phone? I'll be happy to stand on it before the show ends. It's right on the other side, plugged up. I will look it up. But the point is that if a man like him, and even if he didn't go to jail, he's still suffering repercussions for something he did not do. Because you didn't let me finish. He's still suffering repercussions for something he did not do. But yet you'll sit there and say that, oh, men don't go to jail. There's nothing to be afraid of. There is something to be afraid of.
That is not what I said.
The people are scared when they have no education. You can have all the goddamn education in the world and you be black and go to jail still.
That's cool, but that is not what I said.
That's why they're scared.
Well, that's not what I said, though. So the rest of that you're talking about does not apply to me and doesn't apply to what I was saying.
You just said that. But the only reason why I'm scared is if you don't know the law. People go to jail who are black that know the law, sir. Do you remember where you sitting at? You can know everything you want. And if you are black and you are a man, then you can still take your black ass to jail. I don't give a fuck how much you quoting in the back of the police car. You can still go to jail in this country. Is it right or wrong? It's wrong.
Nobody said that you can't go. I was correcting you on what you were saying.
I said most men are scared after they hit somebody and worried. No, they're not.
And I was correcting you. No, I said about me, and I was talking about
and
you.
And
you asked me, did I know other people who don't? Did you know other people? I'm not worried about other people. You said, do I know people, and do I know people that have been educated enough not to be in those situations of fear? And I do.
I don't know.
And I stand on that. But I didn't ask you whether you knew a lot or not. I'm standing by what I said. Nothing's going to deter me from that because I've been in those situations. The thing about people is like when they start talking about shit of hearsay shit, they've never been in those scenarios. So that's good. If you don't want to stand on it, then don't yap about it. That's all I'm saying. Like it's easy to sit there and say things about from a standpoint of, oh, this could happen. Anything can happen in this world. We all know that. That's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Some people have fear, some people don't. I don't stand for that. But I was correcting you on the idea of this man don't have to have no fear. No way, no way, no for. But no man really has to have no fear. That's the standpoint I'ma stand by. You ain't no man. I can have that stand. I can have that same stance from a woman that's sitting in there that gets off of tickets and everything else. Some women don't have fear because they just don't have fear. Whether they white, black, or whatever, doesn't matter. Some women can flirt their way out of a ticket. That's their standpoint. They can have that. They can have that idea in their head, but he doesn't have to have that idea.
He wouldn't have that idea.
He don't have to have it.
There's no reason why Dana White should fear anything. There are 1,000 reasons why a black man could be scared.
Okay.
1,000.
Okay.
You have to coach your kids now on what to do if a police stop you.
That's cool. But that don't have what happens with him didn't have anything to do with,
of course it didn't. And that is what white privilege is, though.
But he doesn't have to.
You're giving the definition of white privilege. He doesn't have to think. Of course not. Because he's privileged. He doesn't have to be scared of shit because he's privileged in the country he lives in. No, that's the whole definition.
No, what I'm saying is he doesn't have to look at it from the standpoint of that because he was dealing with a personal. Because of course not, because he's dealing with a personal matter.
Okay.
Point blank period.
So what you're saying is them people that came out that said, you know what? We experience white privilege when we're stopped by the police. We take accountability for our white privilege. You're saying that when they saw George Floyd die, they didn't have to do that. Of course they didn't have to do it. They got sick of pretending like it doesn't exist.
But who are they?
Colin Farrell. Lots of people that made the video. If we could pull it up, we could show it at the end of this one. There were plenty of white celebrities that said, you know what, we cannot sit quietly and just pretend like this did not happen, and that if that was somebody.
So you equating George Floyd to Dana White?
No, I was.
I might just answer the question.
And I said no. I'm just saying that he's experiencing white privilege. That's it. Okay, he is experiencing white privilege.
So he's experiencing white privilege because of a personality he went through, and that's the exact same thing as people coming out speaking about George Floyd. That's what you're saying?
I'm just saying that he's experiencing the same white privilege that they were talking about in the video that they released. That's why they did it. They weren't there when George Floyd died either. They were not there. They still took accountability for white police men being able to stop a white person and letting them go versus stopping a black person and then they die. That is what they were talking about. White privilege is only us that go home at the end of an altercation. Most black people end up dead or in jail. They're acknowledging that happened. All I'm saying is he is experiencing that privilege. At the end of the day, had that been anybody, I don't give a fuck what company they work for, ESPN, NFL, NBA, whatever, across the board, who own it, who don't own it. Repercussions should be the same across the board. For us, it should be equal. If you hit your wife, you go to jail. If you hit your husband, you go to jail. It should not boil down to, well, he's white, he owns the UFC, he's friends with Donald Trump. That is what the things that I'm naming are now called white privilege. This is why it did not happen. And I get what you're saying. He didn't suffer repercussions because there was no one to hand him down. You're saying that he didn't suffer any repercussions because there's no company that can legally hand down repercussions because...
No, I didn't say that. I said he works for a company
that he owns, right?
No, he doesn't own it. He's the president.
Okay,
that company is so... No, it's not whatever, because that's what I'm talking about right now.
He didn't suffer. That's the whole point. Fuck that. That's what I said at the beginning of the statement. Don't matter. Gotcha. The companies and all that shit do not matter.
Yes, they do. All companies matter. Because companies matter based on... NFL is a company, okay? The reason Colin Kaepernick is in trouble is because it's a company that he belongs to, that he signed to. If the companies didn't matter, if they quote unquote don't matter, then you can't say his company matter. If the NFL doesn't matter and the NBA doesn't matter, then UFC doesn't matter. If I'm going by your claims of the company don't matter. That's what you just said, right?
I said the companies don't matter because I didn't want to go back into the company conversation again because I understand what you're saying. There was no one at the top to hand down repercussions because they don't own him. That's all. That's the only thing I need to hear you say. I get that. If I don't work for you, then you can't make me suffer. You can't give me a write-up because you don't employ me. A company that don't employ me cannot write me up. Only a company I work for can write me up.
I said that from
so, and that's why I'm saying the company conversation doesn't matter because we've already passed that. There's no one to hand down this man any repercussion. We get that. What I'm saying is, since we have to X that out, it would have been nice for Dana to just acknowledge, because he has black friends and black colleagues and black fighters. It would have been nice for him. He doesn't have to. I said it would have been nice. I didn't say he had to. I said it would have been nice for him to take accountability for the white privilege that he's experiencing instead of just letting it go. The same way that celebrities said, you know what? This hasn't happened to us before. We haven't been in this situation, but can we really ignore all these unarmed black kids getting killed, knowing that if it was one of our kids, they would have ended up home having dinner? So why don't we say that, you know what? We know that we experience white privilege. We see you and we know it's a problem. That's it. I would have been happy with that, because at the end of the day, he is experiencing white privilege at the finest. There's no one hand him any repercussions. So we just ain't gonna talk about it. The media, if we want to just take it down to just the bit of scrutiny, media coverage over a black man doing that is every fucking scroll. Media coverage over Dana White doing it was one day. And that's just social media. If a black man would have done that, and I'd turn on all of the news stations.
The biggest media outlet is TMZ, and they the one that reported it.
Okay, but I said every day. Every day.
But nobody should like that. Nobody should like
yes,
that every
it
day.
is.
No, it wasn't. Javante Davis shit was not every day.
All I'm saying is the noise was louder.
Wait a minute. That happened, and it was not.
The noise was louder.
I'll let you talk. It happened. It is. That's a situation that happened, and most people's situation is not a continuous run. The only time it's a continuous run of something like that is for a George Floyd scenario where someone would lose their life or something like that in a scenario like that. But no one is going to have repeated coverage of them hitting their wife or somebody else. That's not going to happen every day.
Take out repeated coverage. Media should have been louder. Should have been louder. Should have been stronger. I'm going to stand by that.
I get that. But my point is, there's not enough media coverage of people to cover that. That's all I'm saying. Like it makes more sense when you view. Did you see it? That's how I know.
I didn't see it because they didn't care about it. It wasn't that, but it was enough people to cover it. There's plenty of journalists out there to cover it. Plenty of cameras to turn on and cover it. They didn't want to.
How do they?
Because it's Dana.
How do they cover it when it was at a New Year's Eve party? I'm trying to figure out how do they cover it.
You cover it outside the McDonald's, outside of the Subway, outside of the UFC gym. You cover it the same way you cover it when a black man do it. The motherfucker can't eat a hamburger in peace if he'd have done it. Come on now. We know how the paparazzi get when they're passionate about some shit. If they want to make Dana suffer in the eyes of this camera, they can. They did not want to. We've chased goddamn Prince William and Meghan Markle around the goddamn world, but we can't get Dana White? Come on, man.
Because he ain't big as them.
Come on, man.
Nowhere close.
Come on, man. The guys from goddamn Great Britain. Most of the people in the hood don't even goddamn know who William is. That's on every goddamn stand in the world. I get it. That's a prince and he's a princess. But my point is this. If media wants to cover something, they can.
They can.
Don't say that, it's just not enough cameras and media people in the world to cover
he's not big enough. He's not big enough to be covering that. And that's the whole point. Like, you answering your own questions.
He's big enough that the president will go sit in the goddamn UFC. That's all I need to know. They're friends. He's big enough for me. I didn't know the goddamn guy.
There you go. That's
Epstein.
the answer.
I didn't know Epstein either. But he got enough press that I know who the fuck he is now. I know who Jeffrey Epstein is after the fact. So don't tell me that.
You know why? Because rape is something big.
But slapping your wife isn't.
No.
Even though OJ slapped around Nicole a couple of times and now she's not even living. It's a big deal.
That's right. The murder is what capitalizes.
But what led to the murder? That's the whole reason why the law is in place.
I understand that. But what I'm answering your question that those things are never covered. Whether they're black or white, they're not. You can go back and forth all you want to, but the reality of it is you have to succumb to the reality fact of not how you feel, not your personal feelings, this and that, rambling on. That's cool. You want to be upset and shake the room? Cool. That doesn't matter. The matter is the facts of what goes on. And no media coverage ever is that big for something that small. Whether you're black or white. It doesn't happen it doesn't happen until something is that big. Like a murder. Period.
Nah. I'm sorry. If Shannon Sharp slapped the fuck out of his wife, we gonna hear about that shit all day, every day, at night, in the daytime.
Shannon Sharp is also on a big network.
Like I said, I don't give a fuck about the network.
Exactly.
Even personal backlash.
That's the problem.
The networks will do their diligence, yes, but so will everybody else, including the media, because we were just on a media conversation. Now we back on the goddamn network. Fuck the network. The media would have took care of Shannon.
The network means everything.
The network would have been like, come to work the next day. And the media still would have covered it because it was Shannon goddamn Sharp. The media will pick it up because it's a black man. We suffer, black people suffer most in this country, especially when we break the fucking law. And hitting your wife is breaking the law. Personal or not. He slapped her. That is against the law.
I'm not saying that we don't, but that doesn't have anything to do with black privilege. Him slapping his wife. Nothing at all.
The backlash that he didn't get has to do with white privilege. That's what it is. It is white privilege. Okay. And everybody watching this show is going to agree with me that what he is going through, he is taking care. I do. But I'm going to stand by this one. You know why? Because we've experienced in this for the last fucking 3 years. There's no way that black people don't feel the same way I feel. That if that was a black man, he would have 10 times more punishment. Now, are there things to learn? I can definitely say there are things to learn. I had to find out about why there wasn't repercussions because they don't own him. I get that. That doesn't change the level of loudness and the level of silence that we heard when he did it. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying the level of loud and the level of silence is what we call white privilege in this country. Everybody calls it that. You, me, if someone doesn't suffer the same actions by whoever, company, media, personal, doesn't matter. If it's not the same, you are experiencing privilege. Two rapists can go in the courtroom and the judge sentenced the white boy to 5 years and the black one to 15. That is white privilege. Period.
I'm not saying that don't exist. I'm saying it didn't exist for that scenario.
Okay. We're going to leave the decision or the final choice in your hands, guys. It's time for you to tap in. That means tell us what you think. Tell us something that you're going through or just ask us a question. We don't hold back. Do we have a tap in for this evening's show?
Time to wrap up.
No tap in. We went long on that one, but we did cover current events. So we're going to wrap up. My name is Kayna Lassiter, and you can find me on IG, Twitter, at Kayna Lassiter.
You can find your boy on both platforms. That's Twitter and IG. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure y'all hit the super chat. Tap in, donate, make the show bigger. We do have a contest coming up for the new relation shirts, and in order to get into that contest, you're gonna have to do a super chat. Take a snapshot of it and send it to us, and you will enter in for a new contest. I'm gonna sign us out like I always do. Peace.